Beautiful morning, and after a massive rainstorm, thought I'd tell you a bit of a story that I've been thinking about, talking to some customers about this idea, and starting to recognize it more and more as I'm on agency number three. Agency number one, about 30 employees. Agency number two, it's maxed out at about 30 employees. Agency number three, Get Leverage, has 30 employees already. We're trying to grow something that's hundreds or maybe 1,000 employees. And there's this concept that every business is like a tapeworm. This is a great saying by Andrew Wilkinson, and that a business naturally actually has to grow. And I never thought about it until I'm reading his new book. I think it's called Big Enough or Not. Something's Enough, or I'll look it up on my phone. But anyways, I'm listening to it right now, and he kind of outlines and justifies why a business actually has to have some form of growth every year, or it naturally is in decline. Of course, one of those is inflation. And number two, inflation drives costs up naturally. Every vendor increased prices, every employee asks for a raise. And that raise is typically going to be somewhere maybe in the 5 to 10% range. So you must grow every single year, or you actually will be in decline. So, with every business forced to grow, the one of the primary obvious vehicles for growth is headcount. I had this conversation with a customer, and that I'm a big believer that, especially in professional services firms, that if you're a really tiny agency, so you're 4 employees, 5 employees, 7 employees, whatever it is, primarily, without the exception of Justin Welsh and people that are designing one-man armies, and there's very few that are intentionally trying to grow a multi-million-dollar business with one employee or zero employees, that the reality is that if your business is multi-years into the journey and it's still only a few employees, primarily the reason is you, not despite you. You are the bottleneck. And I now am old enough to recognize that every time my company hit a ceiling, it was a ceiling upon which the partners either hit a critical ceiling on a skill or capability, such as we didn't know how to build out a certain go-to-market strategy. So we, as an example, maybe we got too addicted to referrals and we didn't build enough inbound or outbound. So there wasn't enough logical momentum, and the power law meaning the bigger you get, the more money and compounding it has to grow to even create growth. So you didn't know how to do something, or you stuck yourself inside something that forced a cap on top of that particular department. You chose to be part and run operations. So everything had to flow through you. So every train came to a screeching halt. It actually looked like traffic, where traffic tried to merge in and it had to slow down dramatically because everything stopped with your approval. I've been in that situation. I have unfortunately caught myself or my business partners doing it. And it's unbelievable when you back up and look outward to realize, oh my God, there's a whole reason. And you don't realize you're not growing until a lagging indicator 6 months later, a year later, and you realize, oh my God, no wonder we're not growing. We didn't ship any new product. We didn't innovate our operations in the last 6 months because everything is halting to yourself. Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is if you're also difficult to work with, or uh, not a strong manager, then that, in fact, is one of your big barriers, because you can't either recruit talent because people find out you're difficult to work for. So you have a talent acquisition problem, or you have a talent retention problem. Talent creates all the operating leverage, specifically in year 2 and 3 of their journey. Year one, people are learning the ropes. they're getting some productivity, but massive productivity gains are in year 2 and year 3. When somebody's been in the business, there's now nascent knowledge. They're able to run projects without even asking you because they've now seen this scenario multiple times. They can do it, and all of a sudden, you're not being tic-tacked from idea to idea, and where you're doing all this mental switching. All of a sudden things are happening without you, and now it's growing organically without you. I see this in some of our customers, some of the prospects that I serve. I can tell right away that they are the barrier. I actually said this to one customer, and I regurgitated a concept from Dan Martell, and that concept was really simple. 80% done by others is 100% better than done by yourself. And I'm 45 years old. It took me a long time to understand this. And I, in my sales training business, got really frustrated for the longest time why our sales trainers couldn't at first get the same net promoter scores or have the same training and facilitation results that perhaps I was having. But then I came to realize, oh, yeah, we could only serve so many customers at the same time if I was doing all the training. And if I was doing all the training, the opportunity cost is I'm not doing the selling. It wasn't until I relieved myself of training and relieved myself of the burden of worrying that 80% done by others is 100% better than done by me. All of a sudden, it was an unlock. Now, all of a sudden, we went from, say, maybe 5 projects at a time to 20 because I could now sell. The same sort of thing goes with any other part of your business. If you are spending all your time double checking and fretting that something isn't done, and that to be done task is a $5 an hour task, the opportunity cost, and I keep coming back to this saying, Greg Alexander of Sales Benchmark Index and now Click to 54, put this in my head and it will be in my head forever. There is only 2 things that the owners of professional services firms should be doing at any given time outside of deploying capital. Number 1, rainmaking, winning new business or upselling and cross-selling. Number 2, inventing new intellectual property, new products, new services. Maybe it's acquiring services or products, but anything outside of that is a task they shouldn't be doing. And so if you're fretting about any of it, and I catch myself right now, we're trying to have incredible financial rigor. So we use Xero as our financial operating tool. Like Xero is a competitor to QuickBooks. We have to backtrack and ensure that every invoice is in Xero. We're building a data room from day one, so we're always ready for the future. But we didn't build it in the first year. And so now we're doing all this backtracking and I'm catching myself inside $5 an hour tasks, but I have to back away and say, you know what? Others are going to do it in the business. We'll get it done in due course. 80% done by others is 100% better than me playing around with invoices and in Xero so that I can focus on business development, marketing like I'm doing now. So I hope you find this valuable. If your agency is small and it is been around for a bunch of years, it is really important you are self-reflective because primarily that's due to you and your talent capacity or your unwillingness to unlock a level and let yourself free of administrivia, customer support, marketing, and eventually sales. Relieve yourselves of these burdens. And I recognize your anxiety is going to go up and through the roof when you see that others can't do a task like you can. I remember once hearing that an entrepreneur should dream that somebody could even do it 50% of what the entrepreneur can. The reality is nobody has the same passion to the business or the nascent knowledge you do for the business. But if these tasks are being done, it unlocks your ability to focus on the big 2. Number 1, revenue creation. Number 2, intellectual property creation. If it's outside of that, get out of it. I hope you find today valuable.